Welcome to Magic Beyond the Books. Today I am talking about Celestina Warbeck. I'm Renee. Warning, there are Harry Potter spoilers in this episode. So, quick character summary. Also known as the Singing Sorceress, Celestina Warbeck is a popular singer in the wizarding world and Mrs. Weasley's favorite artist. So first, let's talk about etymology of her name. So Celestina, J.K. Rowling took that name from a friend that she worked with at Amnesty International. And she said the name just seemed to go with a glamorous witch. The meaning could be from celestial, anything pertaining to the sky or visible heaven, heavenly. That might make sense with a heavenly voice, that kind of thing. Or, her being a big star. And then Warbeck means guard of the birch trees, which is interesting because her wand is not a birch wand. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. And another thing to know is she does end up marrying someone named Irving Warple. And the name Warble might come from what's known as a warbler, which is a singing bird. And they're just these little small, colorful songbirds. So maybe that's another reference there that she marries Irving Warble, reference to warblers in the real world, which are singing birds. So, as I mentioned, let's talk about her wand. So her wand is 10.5 inches, which is pretty standard. And the wood is large. And she has a phoenix feather core. So Harry also has a phoenix feather core. So does Voldemort. So does many characters we meet that have Ollivander wands. And then larch wood is an interesting wood that we haven't had that come up for another character on the pod yet. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. It is a very rare wand wood. It's warm colored, strong, and durable. It has a reputation for instilling courage and confidence in the user. And the demand is greater than the supply. So this is a wand that a lot of people would like to have, but the wand is hard to please and really tricky to handle. Large wands always have hidden talents and unexpected effects. And that's supposed to be paralleled in the Wand Master. And the witch or wizard who is fit for this wand won't discover the full extent of their powers until they use this type of wand. So some interesting facts about large wood wands. Character timeline. So Celestina Warbeck was born on August 18th, 1917 in Wales. She's a half-blood. Her father is a wizard and her mother is a muggle. So her father worked in the Department of Muggle Relations, actually, and her muggle mother was a failed actress. So how they met was the father met her mother when she was attacked by a lethifold disguised as a stage curtain. So she must have been kind of acting like they say failed actress, but she must have been doing some stage shows if she was on a stage and attacked by a lethifold. Now, you might be wondering what a lethifold is because those don't make an appearance, I don't believe, in any of the main Harry Potter books. But it is also known as a living shroud. It resembles a black cloak which glides along the ground at night. It's ranked as a 5 on the Ministry classification scale, which is the highest for Fantastic Beasts as far as their danger level, which means that it's a known wizard killer and impossible to train or domesticate. It's a really rare beast and it's found only in tropical climates, which makes sense why it never comes up in Harry Potter because they're never in a tropical climate. Because it's this cloak that glides along the ground, you might be thinking in your mind that this reminds you of a Dementor, but they're not exactly the same. Lethifolds will actually eat their prey, not suck out their souls. But what is the same is the Patronus spell is the only spell that repels a lethifold. And contrary But contrary to Lethifolds, Dementors are classified as beings, not beasts, but Lethifolds are beasts. And Lethifolds usually attack their victims when they're sleeping, but that didn't happen with Celestina. But at least, or not, sorry, not Celestina, Celestina's mom. At least this had a positive ending, though, because this brought Celestina's two parents together and they were happily married and they had her. At 10 years old, Celestina, so this would have been 1927, the Wizard magazine Spellbound published an article about her singing talents and called her a child prodigy. And then from 19, so that was right before she attended Hogwarts, so she would have been around, she's 10 then, and then at 11, she attends Hogwarts, so that's 1928 to 1936. And she's sorted into Gryffindor House. So in case you didn't know, Celestina Warbeck is a Gryffindor. And apparently her mother sent letters to the school asking them to form a theater club, choir, and dancing class to showcase her daughter's talents. The mother wanted wizards to have more opportunities to sing, act, and dance. So we know that later Celestina grows up, she becomes a famous singing artist as an adult and releases songs and performs in concerts. She often appeared with a backup chorus of banshees, so another fantastic creature. Banshees are dark creatures found in Ireland. They weren't described in the Fantastic Beasts book. I think they're categorized as either being or spirits. But basically, they have an appearance of a woman with a green-tinged face, and their cry is fatal to anyone who hears it, just like with fully grown mandrakes. The sound of laughter wards them off, so people will drink a laughing potion to work against them. And this, we do see like this banshee in the boggart class, which is interesting because also banshees are warded off by laughter, and so are boggarts. I was finding it really unclear if they're hostile to wizards or not. Some things I found said that they don't really communicate with wizards and they may or may not attack them. Some wizards clearly are afraid of them. But Celestina was able to work with them continuously as backup singers. So, like, and clearly they can sing. Like, she must have been able to communicate with them. So, I'm not really sure where the lore is with that. But anyway, moving on. So, as far as her concerts, we know a little bit. So, one story was that 3 devoted fans were involved in a 3-broom pileup over Liverpool on the night of her Flighty Aphrodite tour. And we know she often appears on the Wizarding Wireless Network on a show called Witching Hour, hosted by Glenda Chittock, if I'm saying that right. So she's on the radio. You know, she hosts tours and concerts. Her personal life was often covered in the Daily Prophet as well. Early in her career, she dated and married one of her backup dancers and then divorced him after a year. Then later, she married her manager and they had a son together. And then 10 years later, she left him to marry a music composer that is Irving Warble, which I mentioned earlier, the warbler bird reference. In her free time, she bred Krups, actually. So as if she's on tour, she's marrying a bunch of men, she has a son, but she's also breeding Krups. So she's doing a lot with her life. Krups are a fantastic beast. The ministry classifies them as a 3 out of 5, meaning a competent wizard should cope. Krups are almost indistinguishable from a Jack Russell Terrier, which is a real-life dog breed, if you're not aware. The big difference is that they have a forked tail, Krups do, and they originated in Southeast England. They're fiercely loyal to wizards, specifically, like wizards and witches, but hostile towards muggles and squibs. They're great scavengers, and they eat everything from gnomes to old tires. And wizards can own one by attaining a license through the ministry. And basically, to get that license, they just have to prove that they can control them in muggle areas. And they're required to remove their tail with a painless severing charm just to hide them from muggle notice. So they would blend in with a typical Jack Russell Terrier with a cropped tail. This is funny because I did grow up with 2 Jack Russell Terriers, and they are, they're a little bit of a crazy breed, high energy. I found them to be like not super friendly with strangers, which goes with their whole like aggression towards muggles. And they do go after small animals, so it would make sense that their wizard equivalent would go after gnomes. But more about Celestina's timeline. So in 2003, a muggle dog walker accidentally took a port key to one of her concerts, and she allowed him to join her on stage for a duet of A Cauldron Full of Hot, Strong Love. A ministry official put a memory charm on him, and the memory charm must have not fully worked because later he wrote a song that greatly resembled Celestina's hit. And then in 2014, she attended the Quidditch World Cup in the Patagonian desert, which caused a big stir, and lots of attendees were trying to get into the VIP box to see her. So that's what we know about her kind of timeline throughout life. She obviously had an illustrious career. So talking about her music apparently had a grandstanding style, and she had a very powerful voice. The style of music is supposed to be like pop, I think. Her albums include You Stole My Cauldron, But Can't Have My Heart, and Nothing Like a Holiday Spell that we know of. I'm sure there's more. And then songs we know of include You Stole My Cauldron, But Can't Have My Heart, Nothing Like a Holiday Spell, You Charmed the Heart Right Out of Me, A Cauldron Full of Hot, Strong Love, Assio Christmas, My Baby Gave Me a Hippogriff for Christmas, A Witch and a Wizard's Wintry Wondrous Land, Puddlemere United's team anthem, which is Beat Back Those Bludgers Boys and Chuck That Quaffle Here. As far as listening to Celestina Warbeck in the real world, like you as a muggle can listen, at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, they do have a little show for her. So it's in Diagon Alley at the Carkit Market stage. And it's Celestina Warbeck and the Banshees. It's like a 12-minute little musical show, and they perform jazzy, upbeat songs that were actually written by J.K. Rowling herself. And that show runs multiple times throughout the day. So if you do want to see that, just like check the park app for the specific show times the day that you go. But I thought that was interesting. So if you do want to hear her music, you can actually hear it in real life. They kind of give like snippets of her songs, I know, from the Harry Potter books, like that, you know, Mrs. Weasley will be listening to on the radio. But obviously it's kind of up to our imagination to to hear those or think how they would sound. Okay. Theories about Celestina Warbeck. So one theory is that she uses complex charms to mesmerize listeners. So basically, like, she uses what's called ambient amarantia love charms in her performances to keep older wizards and witches mesmerized. I don't know if that's true. Obviously, we know that Molly Weasley is a fan, so I think that's what they're referring to with like older witches and wizards. But we know, for example, Fleur doesn't really like her, but also Fleur is a part Vila, so I don't know if she's, you know, immune to those kind of charms. But I don't know. I don't really believe that's true. I think she's just a good singer, but you can believe that if you want. Another theory is that many real world or muggle world hits of the 1900s were just leaked Wizarding World hits from her and others. And I think that's probably true if we're going with the Harry Potter canon. I'm sure that it would be hard to hide music and not replicate it. And then another theory is that her music subtly mocked the ministry, and she used her platform to protest authoritarian laws in the magical community. I think that she was involved with some protests. You know, she could be somewhat anti-ministry. It seems like the Ministry of Magic has a lot of issues, so I think a lot of people are against them. So, you know, I don't think that's too crazy of a theory. So fan casting Celestina Warbeck. This is super fun. I think there's a lot of ways you could go with this. So for reference, J.K. Rowling said she imagines Celestina to look and act like Shirley Bassey. And Shirley Bassey is, well, first of all, full name is Dame Shirley Veronica Bassey. She's a Welsh singer and one of the most popular vocalists in Britain. She sang theme songs for 3 of the James Bond movies. You know, she's done a lot of stuff. So if you don't know her by name, you probably are somewhat familiar with her music. And she's 89 years old now. So she was born in 1937. Her music style is more R&B, pop, jazz, soul kind of category. So I think I imagine that being kind of how Celestina sings. I know she's officially categorized as pop, but I feel like there's probably some like R&B, soul. And Shirley Bassey, she has an over 70-year career. She sold over 140 million records worldwide, making her one of the best-selling female artists of all time. And in the full cast audiobooks that were just released somewhat recently in the past year, Shirley Bassey actually does the voice for Celestina Warbeck. So interesting fun fact. In the Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone and the Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets video games, Jeff Willis illustrated Celestina Warbeck's chocolate frog cards, like for the video game. He said that he based the design for those chocolate frog cards in the video game off of American singer and actress Patti LaBelle. So if you look at, I'll share a picture on her Instagram, you'll see kind of the reference there. So background on Patti LaBelle, she was born in 1944, so she's 82 years old now. So in that same kind of window as Shirley Bassey, who's 89. Patti LaBelle is known as the godmother of soul. She started her career in the 1960s as the front woman of an R&B group, which was Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. And the group disbanded in the 1970s. And after that, she launched a solo career. And she's like done acting and many other things. But the songs she's known for are On My Own, Lady Marmalade, If Only You Knew, and so many others. So again, if you don't know Patti LaBelle by name, you probably have, experienced her music. She's another icon. That said, for fan casting, on my end, I would say, so during the Harry Potter books time, Celestina Warbeck would be in her 70s. I think it would be really fun to have someone like Shirley Bassey or Patti LaBelle, do a little like cameo, and like do like an older icon artist like Chaka Khan, or just like another big icon would be like a fun little cameo to have. Maybe like just showing her in a picture on an album or something, because she doesn't have like a big part in the Harry Potter books. But I did want to so that's my first, what I would say would be the first fan cast. But if you wanted to go in a different direction and kind of make her more modernized and have her be like a younger artist in the series, or maybe referencing her older music by casting a younger artist, I think some good ones that could play this role would be Raye, Raye, Rachel Agatha Keane. She's a British singer-songwriter. She's 28 years old now, and she sings the song Where Is My Husband that's been really popular lately. She also sings a song called Escapism that's another like pop hit, so you've probably heard her. Another one is Olivia Dean. I think Olivia Dean would be good for this role. She is an English singer-songwriter, so both of them are like, would have the correct accent and everything, if that matters. But Olivia Dean is age 27, and she sings Man I Need and So Easy. And her songs are a little bit less like grandstanding style, but they're like, calmer and like these nice little love songs. She has a strong voice too. So one of them I think could play Celestina Warbeck for sure, especially if they're doing like a younger reference or another take. So those are my fan casts for the role. But that concludes everything for Celestina Warbeck. So very interesting character. I wish we could have gotten her more in the books, but it's fun to have these little like, musical artists that get these little short cameos and references. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to rate and subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. And until our next episode, happy reading, happy listening, and may you never be attacked by a Lethifold.